Okay, is it working? Hopefully it's working. Okay, is it working? Hopefully it's working. Okay, is it working? Okay, here we go. Yeah, I know this article, or I should say this affair is a little bit late, but I want to speak about the U.S. imposition of the 20% tariff on the import of Canadian lumber and its effects. So I want to take some time and read to you my essay on it. In the time since the global recession of 2008-2009 and the following Eurozone crisis, there has been huge swells in populist and protectionist rhetoric from the United States to all throughout Europe. People who have felt that globalism has left them worse off than they used to be. Populist candidate Donald Trump in the United States ran on making America great again, a rallying call and a nostalgic back look on to an economy and job market irrevocably gone. A simpler time when an uneducated white male or other individuals could get a job in a low to mid-skilled job as a factory worker, butcher, welder, lumberjack, coal miner, etc., and could reasonably expect to work at a single job for 30 years and retire with a pension. College education was cheap and provided an optimistic job outlook. Middle and high school education was robust and one of the best in the world. Houses were generally affordable, the American middle class was growing, all of which, in a world deeply intertwined and technologically advanced, has irreversibly changed the American job market. Low-skilled manufacturing have migrated to the south to Mexico, and across the Pacific to China and Southeast Asia, and are likely never to come back. In the America First position, the Trump administration is looking for America to retreat from our self-appointed position as the global leader to focus on American interests domestically. Of these is the renegotiation of NAFTA and the threat to leave if America doesn't get a better deal. In recent development, the much thorny lumber issue between the U.S. and Canada has returned. The Trump administration has imposed a 20% tariff on import of lumber from Canada, the New York Times, 2017. So the questions are, what will be the impact of the tariff on lumber prices in the U.S.? What will its effects beyond the construction industry, the price of food, relative supply and demand for food and lumber in the U.S., and of course, what will happen to the terms of trade for each country? Finally, how does this impact NAFTA country relations, and will it result in a net positive benefit for the U.S.? So the United States is a rather large country with a massive internal market. So imposing a tariff on a country like Panama is unlikely to really affect prices in the United States. But this tariff was imposed on Canadian lumber, of which the United States buys 69% of lumber exports. Source New York Times. A substantial amount. Using the standard trade model, we assume that the United States exports food and imports lumber, and Canada does vice versa. Total trade of lumber and food is assumed as total world trade. So imposing a 20% tariff on Canadian lumber will increase lumber prices, internal prices, in the U.S. by 20% as well. What does this mean for the construction industry? According to American home builders, the main effect of the tariff or export restrictions has been to inflate the cost of lumber by about $3,000 on a typical home. Sourcing in New York Times. This is in line with the effect that the standard trade model predicts. The Commerce Secretary, Mr. Ross, contends that it wouldn't raise home prices because the primary determinant of cost in the industry is land, not lumber. I can speak to the validity of this argument. I can't speak to the validity of this argument, although depending on the stickiness of house prices to the type of lumber prices, it's possible that in the short run it wouldn't raise house. Alternatively, the domestic price of food in the United States would fall compared to the world or external price of food. This is good for home Now they will produce more food for export. The relative supply of food will fall while the demand for food will increase. This is because now that the price of food is cheaper, there's an incentive to more food and export it to Canada. The United States produces food cheaper. The relative supply of lumber, on the other hand, would decrease because the U.S. is not importing as much as they were before, and the demand will decrease because Americans will shift to consuming more food and less lumber. So what will be the effect on terms of trade? The United States' terms of trade would increase because terms of trade exports divided by imports, and that would increase. As for Canada, its terms of trade would decrease because of the 20% tariff on its lumber. Its exports would be less than its imports. It's critical to keep in mind that because of NAFTA, the United States, Canada, and Mexico's economies are highly intertwined and interdependent. Canada was America's largest export destination, according to USTR 2016, of goods in 2016, at about $320.1 billion exports to Canada and $307.6 billion worth of imports. The United States is estimated to be 69% of Canada's lumber exports. So it's clear to see that economically, that Canada is an important trading partner for the United States. There is an argument to be made that the threat of closing the market has sometimes helped ensure compliance with international trade rules, Irwin 2017, and as part of an overall trade strategy can be effective. But slapping a 20% import tariff on an important economic partner like Canada has certainly caused head scratches around the world. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, a liberal that is strongly pro-free trade, has taken great pains to keep good relations with the United States. This tariff has been seen as an insult towards the Canadian people. And his Foreign Minister, Chrystia Freeland, in response to the tariff, said, "We're nice guys. Politeness is sometimes something we believe in as a natural virtue, but this is not an accident that hockey is our national sport," warning the United States that they value their relationship, but if they continue, they will not be shy. They will not shy away from playing rough, i.e. retaliating. A hockey reference. Canadian-American relationship is currently intact, but if they aren't able to resolve this tariff or new tariffs and restrictions are placed on Canadian exports, they are likely that people will be angered enough to vote in politicians who will retaliate if the Trudeau administration mind. As for the health of NAFTA, it is a serious question. President Trump's anti-immigrant and infuriated the Mexican people. Former Mexican President Vicente Fox calling Trump an imperialist gringo, The Hill 2016, in response to then presidential candidate's first debate with Hillary Clinton. Words like that risk bringing back deep resentment to historical American aggression. Various social media boycott campaigns against American companies have sprung out of Mexican media, like hashtag Adios Starbucks, which prompted a startled Starbucks to come out to defend itself, Reuters 2017, all in response to Trump's call to wall on the southern border and to add insult to injury, have Mexico pay for it. Current Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto even had to cancel his meet with Trump when the president ordered the start of the building the wall through an executive order, New York Times. The Mexican president certainly tried to mend relations with the United States scheduled visit, hoping that it was merely campaign rhetoric, but the optics and the domestic political pressure was too serious for him to continue with the visit. President Peña Nieto, already an unpopular president, couldn't risk the political backlash. The president seemed serious about fulfilling his protectionist campaign rhetoric promises, although it appears unlikely that President Trump would unilaterally pull the United States out. If he continues as he currently is to antagonize the members of NAFTA, populist pressure from within Mexico and Canada push the country's leadership to retaliate against the United States, or even to elect populist politicians, much like Trump, that would pull them out of NAFTA, even if it is to everyone's detriment. And in my blog, I've included links to the bibliography of different sources I have gotten these from, particularly this New York Times article, which came out in, I believe, April. So this is the first stream, so hopefully it went well. I will definitely try to fix this up and here.